It's a new breed of old man coffee.
For old man coffee. So
That's old man coffee. Old man coffee, Chris.
Hey, it's Old Man Coffee. First, I want to thank all of the new subscribers. I hope you enjoy the channel. I've returned from Los Angeles, back in Vegas now, and a few things happened while I was in LA, and while I tell you about it, I'll let you watch my little video of driving back into Las Vegas. While I was in LA, I noticed that I had a leak in my power steering lines, and it wasn't so bad that I couldn't drive the RV back to Las Vegas, but it was getting worse and worse as I was making it back to Vegas. So I knew that I was going to have to take care of that when I arrived back in Vegas. Also, my freshwater bypass valve that fills the freshwater tank had worn out and was allowing water from the city to fill up my holding tank. That's the freshwater holding tank, and that was becoming a big problem. So I had to change that valve when I arrived back in Las Vegas, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. And one thing I wanted to point out to you, though, as we get closer to the strip here, and we're going to cross the strip and get into Bally's, as I'm driving along, right about here, brake lights come on this guy in front of me pretty abruptly, because he had to stop, so I had to stop pretty quick. And that's something you see a lot here, especially right here at Bally's. They don't have a sign there. Everybody thinks they can turn into that parking structure over there on the left, and they can't, because that's actually a left-hand turn lane. So anyway, those are things that you have to watch out for when you're driving around in a large RV or a large vehicle like that. But the good thing is, I was up high, so I could see over the cars in front of me, which gave me the heads up that that guy was going to enter that left-hand turn lane. Now we're getting pretty close to arriving at my destination on Boulder Highway. So I'm going to wrap this up right here, and I'll come back and tell you about the repairs that I'm making to the RV. After I got back and got all set up at the RV site, I called Velocity. They work on 18-wheelers and RVs. They're located in North Las Vegas. And here's a little bit of the drive that I had to make up to North Las Vegas. They're located at close to Craig and the interstate. The thing is, when I did arrive there, I talked to John, in charge of RVs, and told him what I needed. I had a leak in my hydraulic lines for the power steering. And actually, when I called him and made the appointment, I told him what the problem was, and he told me to bring it up. So I'm traveling here early in the morning to arrive in time for them to work on the RV all day. It's probably an all-day job to change out those lines. problem was, after I parked the RV at the repair facility, went in and talked to John. He comes back out and takes a look at the RV and tells me they don't work on workhorse chassis. They're not a authorized repair facility for workhorse chassis. Well, that was a problem. So I said, well, what do I do now? And he said, well, you can go to Finley RV. It's located on Boulder Highway. Well, it turns out that Finley RV is just down the street from my RV park. So I wasted a whole trip driving early in the morning, tearing down the RV and getting it over there to Velocity early in the morning to have them work on it. So what I had to do was leave Velocity and travel over to Finley. And here I am pulling into Velocity and parking in the lane behind this bus. They do work on buses too. Pretty much anything that's large. And they work on 18-wheelers, tractors. Well, after John told me that they didn't work on workhorse chassis, I had to leave. So it's backing out of here and going around the building and heading out to Finley RV. I'm not going to bother showing you the drive back down the same route that I just went. But I did want to show you the vehicles that they do work on. Why they don't work on workhorse chassis, I have no idea. But they're not an authorized repair facility. So here I am arriving at Finley on Boulder Highway. Now I didn't call ahead for an appointment, and this is around 10 a.m. in the morning when I arrive at Finley. And I was really surprised. I went in, I talked to Jack in the repair area, and he said, sure, pull it on in, we'll take a look at it and give you an estimate on the repairs. So I pulled into Finley RV. Well, while I had the RV at Finley, I decided to have them check over everything. So they took a look at the transmission. The fluid was a little dark, so they decided that it needed a service, and I agreed with them. I did need an oil change. Also, the serpentine belt had a crack in it, so that's very important to have that taken care of. I needed the propane tank topped off, and of course the power steering lines need to be replaced. So they didn't have the parts in stock for the belt and the power steering, but they were able to change the oil, and I use synthetic oil. and we decided to service the transmission when I bring it back. Also, the AC needs servicing. But Jack called me today, told me the parts will be in, and I made an appointment for Monday to have all of the service done. It's going to be an all-day job. So here's a look at changing that bypass valve. This is the door. This is the service panel. The bypass valve has got that blue handle on it. Now that's the new valve that I had to install. That's the city water intake. That's the bypass valve that needed to be replaced. You can see the holes where the old one was located. I had to drill new holes for the mounts for this one. When that valve is in the up position, the city water flows into the holding tank. That's the water pump on and off switch. Now, in order to get to these lines, I had to disconnect those two lower lines right there. The bottom two had to be disconnected and removed because they're tied in to everything behind this panel. Now, this panel cannot be removed. You have to work on it from underneath. Well, obviously there's no room. These are the lines that go underneath inside that box. I had to work on this using a mirror, which puts everything backwards, to remove all these lines and install new lines and a new bypass valve. It took me most of the day to do that, only because I had to keep going up to Lowe's to get fittings that would adapt to the existing hoses. And if any of you have ever done any of this stuff, it's never a one-time trip. You're always making trips back and forth. You try to make the trips the best you can, but inevitably you're going to make about 3 or 4 trips trying to get the right fittings, the right hose clamps, the right valve. Would have been nice if I could have bought a existing bypass valve, but that didn't happen. So anyway, I got all of that repaired. That's going to wrap it up for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please click the bell so you'll get notified when the next video goes up. Thanks again, and thanks for watching.